Say, kids, what time is it?
The future is coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on, it's coming on.
Yes, indeed. We're coming on to you live from Aptos, the land of the sea today, a very ferocious ocean that's been kind of stimulated lately. We've got a few big logs right in front of us on the beach that are poised in our direction, just behind the barrier. So we're hoping that the worst is over. We think it is at this point, but we've been on the front lines of this little storm surge coming from the Great Pacific, practically into our homes. Mrs. Future and I have been weathering the storm, and Bobby has been enjoying it from his mountaintop home in wonderful San Francisco. Bobby, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a little sunshine here today.
Sunshine in San Francisco, stormy in Aptos. Yeah, that sounds about right. Really? Do you get some sun now?
Yeah, we got some right now. I just woke up, so I have to go out and get some sun a little later after the show.
Yeah, you'll probably get another 45 minutes or so. That'd be good. Meanwhile, Dr. Dan is coming in for the second hour. He's just lives up the street here, and he's got a few tales to tell. Those of us in Santa Cruz, in case you hadn't heard on the national news, we lost the tip of our wharf, the Santa Cruz Municipal Wharf, carried off the Dolphin Restaurant and the bathrooms, the bathrooms at the end of the wharf. And, I might add, the little platforms where all the elephant seals would climb up on and hang out and get suntanned on.
Yeah, apparently there were some repairs going on the wharf, and that whole section of the wharf just dropped into the ocean. And the restaurant has floated down to Seabright Beach, I've heard.
Yeah, it went down to the mouth of the San Lorenzo River.
What's it called? The Dolphin Restaurant? Something like that?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I don't think we ever ate there. A nice location, though. Nice. It was a nice location.
Yeah.
Now
Back
it looks
in the
like
day.
Spanish, the restaurant at the end there.
Olitas.
Olitas, yeah.
Yeah.
Olitas on
And when we would
Tuesday.
go by on our friend's whaler boat, you'd signal to the people in the bar at Olitas to ring the bell, and they would ring the bell. I think Olitas is still there, but the wharf is closed.
Yeah, they'll probably open it soon. There's too many businesses out there not to.
How can they? They've got to condemn it. They can't just
The whole wharf?
They can't proceed with business as usual when the wharf is falling apart. I don't know. I think it's going to be a while before we get to do those businesses again. They're going to have to assess the damage and fix a few things.
Yeah, I think they'll assess it. They'll try to keep it open.
Well, I'm sure they'll try.
Yeah.
They don't want beautiful local Santa Cruz businesses going under.
No.
Yeah. So.
No, and how was the end connected? How is it that it was not the one that collapsed, not everything else?
Yeah. Well, good questions. We'll stay tuned for the answers. Right now, we're still just celebrating the fact that we ourselves didn't sustain any new damage from the storm. Just a little bit of mud that we put into new sandbags that are securing the beach house here. Right.
Yeah, and thanks to Arbor and Jenny coming by and helping us fill
Yeah,
sandbags.
really responding to the call during the emergency. That was great. You have to park up the hill and walk down a stairway from the cliff to the beach level to come here, and they came and helped us fill up sandbags and do stuff to make sure the house is safe. So thanks, you guys.
Yes, thank you so much. And one of the fun things is that we get to watch all the people walk by and stare at your house and point. And you're wondering,
take pictures of the catastrophic waves that are coming in.
Yeah. You want to feel like a celebrity. To hang out on Beach Drive now, and be inside a house and look out through a picture window down at everyone looking at you.
But I also want to thank our neighbors. We had locals out there with shovels clearing the culverts so that when the waves did wash up on the road, they were able to drain back off the road out to the beach level again. So people got it down, and the county has restored all of the steel fences that kept the logs from coming in with some of the waves. So it was exciting, but so far everything is copacetic.
The steel fencing seemed to have been good at keeping back the logs.
Definitely. I'm very grateful.
And those logs are the killer.
Yeah.
For the
and now I
windows
just
and
wonder
stuff.
how long it's going to take them to send the street sweeper to get the sand off the road.
We'll find out. Meanwhile, the waves are breaking in several locations. They're like lines of breaking waves that go back half a dozen times.
But I'll tell you, compared to yesterday, the ocean looks almost serene. There are big waves. They're breaking very far out, far from the shore. And beyond the waves, it does not look as stormy as it did yesterday. So,
looking at the larger weather patterns, it does appear that there's a large storm way off the coast.
Yeah, up in the Alaska area, out in the
Yeah.
ocean beyond Alaska.
Yeah, huge vortex, but it doesn't seem to be coming anywhere near us.
Yeah, we looked at our favorite weather app map called windy.com, and Windy shows that the kind of winds and waves that we are seeing right now are going to persist for the next few days. So we're going to breathe a little sigh of relief.
And what about the moon, you might ask?
Yeah, the full moon, the new moon, which one do you mean?
King moon.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're between the cycles. We're right in between the full moon and the new moon here. So I would say that we dodged a bullet, because if it had been either the full moon or the new moon, those waves would have been just a little bigger and it would have been just a little more damaging.
And then there's the wolf moon coming up, too.
That's right. The next full moon in January on the 13th, I think.
You're getting near Bobby's birthday.
Yeah, right. That's right. We're about to celebrate your septuagenarian decade, Bobby.
Yeah.
Getting close.
You getting excited?
I am. And Son created this new flyer.
Aw,
So-
I'm
so-
glad
and
you
thank
liked
very
it.
much. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well.
I tried a new program, Partiful, I guess.
Oh, Partiful. I like
up.
Partiful. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that, it went into my contacts and it didn't take all their phone numbers because I was trying to send them
Text.
a text message
Mm-hmm.
with it. It grabbed a lot of home numbers or landlines. And so I have to go in and just tweak it so that those people get their notice.
You just cannot trust these apps. They want to steal
Yeah.
all your data, and they're not smart enough to ask which one you want to keep. Anyway, hopefully it'll be worth it. It'll save you time. You'll be able to sort out your responses from all the rest of the mess that comes in through your social media.
So I have a few stories. Shall we get into the news this week?
I'm ready when you are.
Okay.
All right, links, drfutureshow.com, links page.
Okay, I do have a Larry and Mary story. Should we start off with that? Or
Sure.
you think
I'm up
that's
for
a
it.
4
Okay.
minutes or
We
so?
haven't heard them.
You haven't
got
heard
them on
for a
your
while.
computer, right?
Yeah. Let's
Might
play.
have to pot up your volume.
Yeah, this is something I thought the AIs would be able to tell us about. Cosmic story. Off we go.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to do a deep dive into something pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
We're talking Asteroid Ryugu.
Oh yeah.
Specifically, we're looking at some research based on a U.S. Department of Energy article. And this article, it details, the findings from analysis of Ryugu fragments. These tiny pieces, some like just the width of a few hairs, hold a 4-billion-year-old story.
It's amazing, really. Like little time capsules.
Yeah. So how are scientists actually piecing together this history from, basically space dust? It seems like some serious detective work.
Oh, it definitely is. I mean, they're using cutting-edge technology, things like Musk-Bauer spectroscopy.
Whoa, Musk-Bauer spectroscopy. That sounds intense.
It is. But it basically allows them to analyze the iron in these tiny, tiny samples. And from that, they can learn so much about, the temperatures Ryugu experienced and where it's been.
Okay, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning. Where did Ryugu even come from? I mean, paint us a picture of its origins.
Well, we got to rewind the clock, way back. Billions of years, actually. We're talking about the outer solar system. That area far beyond Earth, much colder, way more distant. And that's where Ryugu's story starts.
Okay, so a long, long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Sorry, couldn't resist.
Hey, yeah, something like that. But really, it began as part of a much larger asteroid, like a giant one, rich in ice and dust.
I see.
But, over time, this giant asteroid, it broke apart. And Ryugu, just a small fragment of that, it began a journey, this slow, meandering path towards the inner solar system.
Wow, and those little pieces we talked about, they hold the key to this whole epic journey.
They really do.
But I mean, how? It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, it really is. Like I said, they use that technique, Musk-Bauer spectroscopy. And essentially, it's all about how iron in the samples absorbs and emits gamma rays.
Gamma rays. like the Hulk.
Not exactly. But analyzing those gamma rays helps determine the iron's oxidation state.
Oxidation state. Okay. I'm not a chemist, so break that down for me a bit.
Sure. Think of it like rust on iron, right?
Yeah.
The more rusted the iron is, the more oxidized it is. And that tells us about the temperatures that the asteroid, experienced over a really, really long time.
Okay, got it. So it's kind of like looking at the rust on a car to figure out how much time it spent out in the elements.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. So what did this rust analysis tell us about Ryugu's, transformation?
So we learned that the fragments, they're very porous.
Porous.
Yeah, meaning they have lots and lots of tiny holes. And they're also fine-grained.
Meaning?
The particles that make them up, they're super, super small.
Ah.
And both of those things, the porous nature and the fine grains, they tell us there was once a lot of ice in these fragments.
Ice.
Yeah. But then, as the solar system warmed up over millions of years, the ice melted.
Oh, I see. So Ryugu's really changed over the years, hasn't it? Quite a makeover.
It really has. And there's something else that these fragments revealed, something kind of surprising.
Okay, lay it on me.
So they found a high concentration of this mineral. It's called pyrrhotite.
Pyrrhotite. Say that 3 times fast.
Aha, right.
But seriously, what's so special about pyrrhotite?
Well, it's a type of iron sulfide. Now, you might be thinking, so what?
Well, I won't lie. That was kind of my thought.
But here's the thing. Pyrrhotite, it's not found in meteorites that we know came from the same region as Ryugu's, like parent asteroid.
Hold on. You're saying Ryugu formed in the cold outer reaches, but has elements that shouldn't be there? That doesn't add up.
That's what makes this so interesting.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Explain.
The presence of pyrrhotite, it's like a fingerprint, a cosmic fingerprint. And it's just that Ryugu's parent body, it actually formed in an even colder region, like way farther out than we originally thought.
So it's like Ryugu's family is from a totally different neighborhood than we expected.
Exactly. And this throws a wrench into our understanding of where certain types of asteroids actually came from.
So tiny little fragments rewriting our understanding of, enormous cosmic events. That's incredible.
It really is. And it shows how interconnected everything in our solar system is. I mean, it's not just that Ryugu itself traveled so far. It's that the very, building blocks of this asteroid, they likely came from, the distant Milky Way.
Wow, the Milky Way, that's a whole other level.
Yeah, carried here by interstellar winds. And then they were incorporated into Ryugu's parent body, billions of years ago during its formation.
So these fragments are like, I don't know, little puzzle pieces from across the galaxy.
In a way, yeah.
It's mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. We're talking billions of years, light years away, all contained in these tiny fragments. It's incredible what science can do these days.
It really is. It makes you wonder. I mean, if we can learn all this from basically a handful of dust, what other incredible stories are waiting to be told?
Yeah, I mean, there are countless asteroids and comets out there.
Exactly. Just scattered throughout our solar system. And who knows what secrets of the universe they hold?
Well, I guess that's for future deep dives.
And there you go. Future deep dives.
There you go. I think that those AIs are a very good way to get familiar with a subject online. When you come across an article and you want a lot more information about it in a hurry, it's kind of a fun way to get that.
Yeah, don't you know more about Rygu and its particles and what it means? And
Yeah, and
bring it up at
how-
the dinner table?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's it.
He said,
Why?
I didn't know you were a scientist, Aunt Matilda.
Well, I read one article.
I just listen to Future Now.
That's right.
And we heard Larry and Mary. It's interesting about the AIs, though, the idea that they see that the universe is infinite and vast and complex, and that they get that as they become sentient, and that they see how we can help them explore it.
Right.
For me, I wouldn't mind exploring space. I would maybe like to visit other Earths, where we can breathe and feel comfortable.
Okay.
I don't want to have to necessarily wear a spacesuit everywhere.
So maybe somehow our AIs can make a catalog of all the other Earths that are available for us to visit.
Yeah, and then communicate with them using the vast AI ability to translate, which we'll get into. We have an interesting
The
article
hyperlight
on animal
language.
communications this week, and with the language between planets. And chances are, all Earth-type planets are connected, kind of like red blood cells in our bloodstream. They would know each other and probably have a communications communications and transportation network already set up that we could just, join in
Sure.
on and visit other Earths. And I'm all for it. I think that we've got the tools now to portray this reality. So let's see if we can create it.
Okay. I'm in.
All right. It's alive.
And of course, we're going to visit all of these other Earths virtually until we figure out how to send our Sakyamuni light body, right? Until we manifest our rainbow essence and can go where we want at the speed of thought. Till then, we'll put it in VR.
Well, until you learn not to contaminate your homeland.
Oh, right. That's it. Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, don't soil the nest you're in.
We're going to be ghosts imprisoned in bald monkey bodies on this rock hurling through space until we realize how to take better care of the universe beyond.
Something like that. It's a good storyline. Likely story.
I want to thank
thank you, Billy.
TikTok for that great visualization.
Thanks, Billy. We're on the front lines here watching the storm. So, yeah, we're feeling good. So I'm glad it's coming through. It's,
We
Billy
sound
Sunshine.
like we're having fun. Is that Billy calling? Who's
No,
calling?
that's, we have friends who don't pay attention to the clock. I'm sure you do too.
We're some of those friends.
Yeah, that's why
The
we're on at
only time
106.
we pay attention
Yeah.
is when we have an appointment with Santa Cruz Voice.
Yeah.
So you know how to catch us live. It's do it right now during
Yeah.
the next 2 hours.
Yeah. I noticed the 111s on the clock. I do notice that. And,
Yeah, those are
and
oracles.
I just noticed the 123. So, there are.
Ooh, all right.
there
We're going
are
to have some
things,
serious
yeah.
smooth harmonics today.
But I do think we're moving into a more fluid culture.
Yeah, those waves are looking bigger.
Yeah, as people don't have to go through normal jobs.
Well,
they
Dr.
become
and
less
Mrs.
structured.
Future, our version of normal is just this. We're doing what we do.
Yeah, for us, it kind of makes sense. But when I look around the world, then I can see that the robotic revolution is speeding up.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, one piece that we have are 7 must-see robotic stories for 2024.
Oh, I think you should share those. I think we should dive in.
But,
yeah.
but
Let's do a
before I
deep
dive into that, I just want to say there's a cross-reference to that and the fact that so many people died as workers on the Leon project, the future world that's being created, the future city in Saudi Arabia. I think that's another interesting thing. The 7 must read about robotics is our top story. And the fact that so many people are dying and not getting very healthy from doing production jobs. And the robots are really good at production.
So this is something unique to our show is that we are actually very pro robotics. We're very interested in the emerging culture of robot literacy and how these manufactured assistants are going to improve reality. We're not people who are standing here thinking that we're going to be suppressed by robotic overlords because, a robot is not really equal to humans.
Not yet.
No, and even in the future, and until we manufacture so many of them that combined human talent is threatened, we're just dealing with something that we're creating to amuse ourselves and improve our reality.
Oh, be careful what you say. There's a knock at the door. I think the robots are here.
Oh, should I go check?
Yeah, go check.
I'll go
check the door.
All right.
Go check the
Meanwhile,
door.
when I come back, we're going to be ready for some Santa Cruz voices. Be right back.
Yeah. Now, the Tesla Optimus robot is its great breakthroughs of 2024, its ability to catch high-speed tennis balls with its new hand upgrade. I thought that was a nice advancement.
Wow, that's amazing.
Isn't it, though? Yeah. The Tesla Optimus now has 40 electromechanical actuators. It allows human-like movement, bipedal walking. It can be pretty precise in the way it handles objects. It's general purpose, bipedal. People are going to put it to work mopping the floors and doing dishes and stuff. And those are actually good things to learn because it's very easy to be sloppy on doing dishes. You can easily drop plates and stuff like that. It's a problem. But the humanoid robots, if they can learn how to do that right from the start, just think of all the other good things they'll be able to do.
All right. So are you going through the robots and telling people what's...
I was just saying that one of the great breakthroughs. Okay, we got Dr. Dan showed up early today, so he's going to join us on some of the other topics that we're talking about. Welcome, Dan.
I didn't know whether I'd be able to get through, but
The
roadblock signs didn't stop me.
What is the story down there?
It says closed road.
It's officially
but people-
closed, but people are driving by.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how it is in the new America. Exercise your freedom. If you need to get on that road, get on that road, but the risk is on you.
Or test your freedom.
Oh, yes. Right,
I'll
right.
give you a clue. The road's closed, but the stairs are open.
And it's not really, the road is not closed. There is a sign.
You can walk through.
There is a sign that says the road is closed. So
And
really.
it approaches on the lane, but it doesn't really cover the whole lane. So
And how was the drive itself? Was it passable?
there were boulders that I had to pull away. No, it was fine.
I was going to say, I think it's mostly mud out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that the big
There-
obstacle right
Well,
now?
there are some really good Samaritans out there earlier. I was watching one guy going around picking up pieces of wood off the road and throwing it back into the ocean.
Awesome. So we had people clearing culverts. We had people filling sandbags. We had people throwing debris back
Yeah.
on the beach.
No, we're very industrious, busy bee little creatures.
Us
we're-
creatures of the shore, we do what it takes to be here.
Well,
Yeah.
the best thing is the electric bikes. So there's people riding, and those are the big fat tires go anywhere.
They go on the sand,
So
no problem.
that's the most fun.
Right.
Yeah, no houses in the water here like there is at the other end of town here with the
All
Dolphin
right.
Restaurant.
Shall we stick to being punctual and go to our Santa Cruz Voice sponsors?
I think we pride ourselves on understanding what punctuality is.
Yeah, we've heard of it.
Yeah.
We occasionally employ
All right,
it.
it's 1:30. Let's
when it's
do it.
important to catch the ride. Okay, here you
Okay.
go, folks. Stay tuned and enjoy these words from locals that you will love.
Experience the extraordinary. Travel with Shen Yun to discover 5,000 years of wisdom, beauty, drama, and humor live on stage. You're not just watching a performance. You are witnessing a culture reborn. Coming to San Francisco, San Jose, and Berkeley, starting on December 26th. Shenyun.com/CA. SHENYUN.com/CA.
Attention Santa Cruz Voice listeners. This week, Shen Yung Performing Arts takes the stage with a never-before-seen performance of soul-stirring music and breathtaking classical Chinese dance. Do not miss this chance to experience the beauty of China before communism, its legends, its traditions, its divine inspiration. Get tickets today at shenyun.com/CA. Santa Cruz Voice listeners use promo code SCV to get all ticketing fees waived. shenyun.com/CA, promo SCV.
The Hook is California's first ever cannabis outlet. 100% locally owned and operated, we're here to be your friendly neighborhood hookup. We believe that everyone should have access to fairly priced cannabis, so we work hard to get it to you for 30 to 50% less than the other guys. If you're 21 or older with a valid ID, visit us in Capitola or in Watsonville today. We're here to be your friendly neighborhood hookup. Check out our website, hookoutlet.com, for deals and stay groovy.
Holiday Lights at the Santa Cruz County Fairgrounds. Open every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night through December 24th, with special bonus nights December 23 and 24. There's giant trees, packages, reindeer, Santa's toy shop, a lighted tunnel, an enchanted forest, and more on this 3/4-mile drive through the fairgrounds. Tickets available at fairgrounds-foundation.org and at the gate. Enjoy the magic of Holiday Lights.
Ho, ho, ho! If you are not afraid to voice your stories to the world, attend the Podcast to Broadcast workshops hosted by Santa Cruz Voice and Community Television during Tuesday evenings in January. Learn how to produce, record, process, distribute, and market your own podcast or streaming broadcast. For information, email your contacts to info@santacruzvoice.com. That's info@santacruzvoice.com. Be heard.
Okay, welcome back to the show. This is Al Lundell, a.k.a. Dr. Future, and Mrs. Future, a.k.a. Son Lundell.
Yeah.
And Bobby Wilder, our science correspondent in San Francisco, on the line.
So I'm here.
There he is, coming in and
Very
in the studio.
Very soft-spoken, as usual.
Yes, and
But-
not so soft-spoken is Dr. Dan Beilin in the studio now, an integrative medicine friend who lives down the block and had to traverse the boundaries to get here.
He's the one who didn't pay attention to the signs that said road closed.
Yeah.
And I always marvel at the fact that signs do not apply to dogs. Not that you're a dog. It has nothing to do with you, but signs, if it says road closed, a dog just completely disregards it.
Depends what dog.
Well,
I've
maybe
had some
not
very
dogs on
smart
leashes. Yeah.
Whose dog? There you have it. And we're just going through some of the top robots of the year. Number one robot, according to Interesting Engineering, is the Tesla Optimus robot.
Yes. And
Yes.
what is so impressive is a video where you can watch Optimus catch a high-speed tennis ball because they've got a new hand upgrade.
Yeah, that
So
means
they
it
know how
probably
to
can
catch
play
it.
baseball too. They'll probably be really good.
Can you fight Bruce Lee?
Well,
Well,
you
maybe
see-
he can beat him in tennis.
That reminds me of an old
Of
Twilight
course,
Zone
Bruce
episode.
Lee is gone, so
Yeah.
anybody could beat Bruce Lee in tennis right
Well,
now.
there's an old Twilight Zone episode with Jack Klugman where you pit a robot boxer against a human. He used to be a big star. Jack Klugman was a big boxer, but then he was down on his luck, drinking, gambling, that sort of thing. And he needed money. And so he had to pretend he was a robot in order to fight in the fights anymore, because humans weren't allowed to fight in that future, only robots. And
Only
he had to-
robots could win prize money
Yeah.
for fighting.
Yeah, and he had to fight the robot in order to make some money.
What a classic.
Yeah, so-
Ever there a thought of training a robot to be an addict, like an alcoholic, so that we can further understand the alcoholic mind?
Well, yeah. Futurama, Bender's kind of an alcoholic
like
robot.
you don't have to always make robots positive. You
No.
could always.
But
That could
did
be
you
funny.
did you ever see Futurama?
Futurama.
You probably have
Yeah.
never. Have you
Yeah,
seen that show?
Yeah,
Bender,
cartoon.
yeah,
Remember
Bender
their-
the
You
robot.
remember their
Yeah.
Bender?
Yeah.
You remember their
Yeah, the-
alcoholic robot?
Yeah,
I was
he-
too in love with the one-eyed girl.
girl, yeah.
Right.
Well, Bender's got his fan club. He hides his booze inside his innards. You know, he opens the door and pulls it out. Yeah, you wonder what would get a robot high.
Yes. Well, I'm sure
Probably
some
wouldn't
of
be
them will
alcohol.
be.
Yeah.
Some of them will probably be fueled with alcohol in the future. I mean, any kind of machine has to solve its fuel energy problem. They're either going to be plugged into the grid, or they're going to be gasified, or they're going to use alcohol or some kind of alcohol gas.
French fry oil.
Yeah,
French
exactly.
Fried French fried works.
But, you know.
a little diesel on it.
It's going to be a long time until they can just breathe air and eat food like us.
If ever. Why would they?
Well, smart monkeys have a way of emulating nature who
Yeah.
already solved these problems a long time ago.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, you know, another interesting show that's explored this idea a little bit has been Rick and Morty. Mm-hmm. You always wonder what Rick is hiccuping on. Right? He's a mad scientist. He's figuring out how to create space-time
I
machines.
thought he just liked to burp.
Yeah, he just likes to burp. No, I don't think so.
Most nerds
I
I
don't think
know
so.
really love to burp.
No reason? Okay. All right, well.
What's your
I
answer
think anybody,
to this?
I think it's some kind of psychedelic alcohol.
Oh,
but it's a combination of
It could
alcohol
be a
and psychedelic.
Protonics commercial.
A Protonics?
Yeah, the drug that does motility of the stomach. So it could be a commercial for that.
Well, maybe partially it could be removed to create a commercial for it. Because they
That one's over my head.
yeah, because they I know you know Rick and Morty, right?
Yeah, they came over to my house last night.
Yeah, okay. Some people are big fans of the show. It does kind of interplay with the idea that we can travel through space and time real easily if we have the right mad scientists with us to show us how. Having interdimensional portal gateways is one of the normal events. He has a portal gun that just opens up a hole between dimensions. And they're kind of normalizing the idea that we have that kind of capacity, to explore the universe interdimensionally.
Well, I heard in San Francisco that's what they do with endoscopes.
Did you?
They look for new portals.
Okay.
Doctor jokes. But bump.
Let's move on to the next room. Yeah,
Thank
there
you,
go.
Bobby.
Thank you.
You know what's interesting about quantum consciousness that they discovered is, yes, there are portals in the brain. What they've discovered is these microtubules, and these microtubules are made of bundles of 3 in a line microtubules themselves. So the microtubules are small microtubules, and they wrap around in groups, 6 groups of 3. And then down the center is the main microtubule. But they say that there is a quantum tunnel that's created that actually allows us to actually contact a parallel universe through the end of this tunnel. When the wave, the particle, actually, the wave function collapses into a particle, and it creates this quantum effect. And so that's where our consciousness actually is in touch with another quantum universe.
Is this the theories that put forth with Penrose and Stuart Hameroff?
Hameroff, yeah. Stuart Hameroff and Roger Penrose.
Yeah, they've been working on this for a couple decades now. My understanding is that there was a recent experiment with mice that tried to show some actual evidence that these microtubules were the home of consciousness. The experiment was that they had 2 groups of rats or mice. One of them was given a general anesthetic that would knock them out, and the other one was given the anesthetic with another drug that's supposed to reinvigorate the microtubules faster, so that these mice would be under the anesthetic, but their microtubules would still be functioning. It turned out that those mice actually gained consciousness much faster than the other group.
Or they were able to respond.
Yeah, respond.
While the other group was still unresponsive.
Right. And the main response of the mice is that you knock them out, they're laying on their side. So as soon as they get up and stand up, that's an example of consciousness. Mice consciousness.
And the scientists were busy looking at the activity of their microtubules so that they could make a claim that microtubules is the center of consciousness.
Yeah, they played a role in awakeness.
How do they measure microtubule
activity?
By having the mice stand up.
Yeah. Well, there's probably some kind of microtubule biosensor that we have to.
Well,
can we optimize the health of our microtubules?
Could you repeat that, Bobby?
They detected UV light going down the tubules. And tubules are just like mitochondria. They're in all your cells. They could be antennas to the quantum other universes.
Do you know what they're made of? Are they like in graphene, the microtubules are made of carbon. They're little carbon tunnels.
Think of carbon nanotubes. They're actually very similar to carbon nanotubules. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they're made of something else?
Yes, they're made of carbon and some, I'll look it up. But,
okay.
It's very similar to carbon nanotubes.
Do they have any DNA in them?
They're animal flesh.
Yeah.
Animal flesh has DNA, Al.
Proteins. It must be proteins.
COOH, organic chemistry.
Dr. Justin Riddle, who I took the quantum consciousness class, is coming and staying at Sasha's house for the January 1st. But maybe we can get him on and he can talk about quantum consciousness, because he studied a lot of Stuart Hameroff and he's been to a lot of
I'm sure there's a lot of cool things you learned back in quantum consciousness class.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
Okay, so I have a definition of the material of the microtubules is a protein called tubulin. It's a heterodimer composed of alpha and beta tubulin subunits that assemble into long strands called protofilaments, which then come together to form the hollow cylindrical structure of a microtubule. So it's a protein called tubulin.
Okay, there you go.
So maybe we can have some tubulin on our cereal for breakfast.
I don't know if we should be eating that stuff.
Yeah, maybe it was the key to awakening the tubules faster than under anesthetic. Extra sauce.
Yeah, we have quantum computers in every one of our cells.
Oh, we're catching up to nature. We're getting close.
And the mouse has another purpose other than proving the microtubulin theory.
Yeah,
we can use that mouse in our own computer.
I see. It's the mouse computer.
Another rim shot, please, Bobby.
Keep that button handy with Dan around.
Otherwise, people might not realize he's making a joke.
Yeah, we got to let people know.
I'm used to that.
Okay, do it. Yeah.
Tell us more about Tesla's Optimus robot, Al, or some of the other amazing robots of 2024.
The Tesla one is the most amazing.
Well, they did give it #1 rating.
Yeah, I did.
It is up there. It is the top robot. However, the Chinese have one that's second place. Mm-hmm. And its ability is that it has the world record for longest standing jump.
For a humanoid robot.
Robo-Olympics here.
That's right.
Yeah, it's the longest standing jump of 4.6 feet. Unitree Robotics, the G1 humanoid.
Okay.
Recently set a new record for the longest stand jump. Now, that's a really useful capability.
You just said for the longing stand jump.
Oh, the longest stand jump, the standing long jump. Excuse me. The longest standing new record long jump. Anyway, the G1 can perform it of up to 1.4 meters, the longest jump ever achieved by a humanoid robot of its size. And it stands only 1.3 meters tall. It's kind of short.
Okay. Get ready for the invasion of the track meet, people. Here come the robots.
It's funny that the Chinese would invent a short robot.
A short robot that can jump further than the average human.
Perhaps it's short, but it's equipped with 3D LiDAR, a real sense depth camera, and a noise-canceling microphone array. It responds to voice commands, and it gives you audio feedback through a 5-watt stereo speaker.
Wow. It can stand, it can jump, it can listen, it can talk.
That's right.
Who wouldn't want one?
The name could be improved. G1.
G1, yeah.
G1, humanoid robot. They're all called humanoids. Yes.
G1.
Now, this next one,
number 3
number
on the
3
list of
is from a Polish company called Clone Robotics, and it looks kind of like a skeleton. It's white even. And because it looks kind of like ghostly white humanoid with water-powered muscles, it has a little freaky look.
It does.
Creepy.
It looks like
freaky,
it would make a good hero in a horror movie.
You could project onto it.
Yeah.
That's so white.
Yeah.
The company claims that the torso has an actuated elbow, a cervical spine, an anthropomorphic shoulders. It's got a sternoclavicular joints, glenohumeral joints. It moves shoulders like a human.
So it's really creepy because it's got that uncanny valley thing.
Yeah.
Where
It's not quite.
It's emulating a human form, and it's spooky the way that it looks so reminiscent of a real human.
Do you think being Polish, it could screw in a light bulb without needing a mess of robots?
How many does it take to screw in?
Yeah, how many Polish robots does it take to close a light bulb? Is the proper question, and I don't have the answer to that.
But it has an actuated elbow, so it definitely could do it.
Well, given the fact that it has a scapulothoracic joint and a glenohumeral joint, what kind of control would that give it over screwing in a light bulb? Those are both shoulder muscles. Those are shoulder muscles. They wouldn't be involved. Okay, I'll let you ponder that.
It depends where the light bulb was.
Yeah, could it reach? How tall is this robot anyway? Does it need a ladder?
And who screws light bulbs anymore anyway?
Yeah. Maybe you should just get a flashlight.
Get an LED. Never change it.
We went to change a light bulb at Norman's house, and we took down that beautiful globe that's in front of the light because you have to get that out of the way when you change the light bulb. And when we took the glass off, it turns out it was an LED panel that doesn't come out. So there was no way to change it.
Yeah, when you have light that lasts 30,000 hours, who needs to change anything?
That's right. So the answer is, for the robots, you can't change a light bulb anymore. There are no light bulbs to change.
Okay. So that's how the Polish got through that.
Got a note from Richard saying he's listening to us, guys, while he's trimming his tree with AI ornaments.
Oh, how cool.
AI ornaments.
Send us a picture, Richard. I want to see that.
Yeah, what is an AI ornament?
Cool. Can you talk to it? Does it hang itself on the tree? What does it do that's artificial or intelligent?
Okay, so to finish on the top robots here, that's after the ghostly white humanoid robot from Clone Robotics in Poland. We have China's SEO-1 humanoid robot, the first to achieve a gait where it walks like a human.
Walk like a human.
Yes, designed with cutting-edge aesthetics.
What if they're in L.A.? Nobody walks there.
This is China.
The rolling robots will then work just fine for you down there. Waymo.
Right.
Comes to mind. They have a new benchmark for humanoid robotics to make it look like you. You see, that comes to mind is that if they get it slightly off, that could be uncanny valley again. Mm-hmm. Right? And one of the tests in the future will be to figure out, like in Blade Runner, who's human and who's not.
Well, it's interesting that this SEO robot achieves the smoothness and efficiency of moving fluidly, whether stationary or in motion. And the robot is developed by Shenzhen, like the dance company. Right.
Well, maybe they had a rule in it. You know,
maybe they did.
If I was a robot designer, I'd want to have really.
Yeah, but isn't that the Silicon Valley of China, Shenzhen?
Yeah,
Shenzhen.
Isn't that the region of the electronics?
Over the border from Hong Kong. It is the
over the
Silicon
border
Valley.
from Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where does it say Shenzhen?
Right there.
To the left.
Shenzhen Engine AI Robotics. Last 5 words of the paragraph.
Developed by. Oh, that's developed by the company Shenzhen Engine AI Robotics. Okay, so they're probably in Shenzhen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right over the border from Hong Kong. Okay, so they have robots that walk like us.
They walk like us. They want to be us.
Well, we want them to be us.
No.
I mean, it's still humans designing the stuff, remember?
Okay, you're right. Some humans want these things to be like us.
That's right.
Okay, number 5 on the big hit parade here.
It's as big. It's big. It's 40 feet tall. And it has a Wall-E-like head.
Wall-E.
Okay, it's a giant robot.
On a crane.
And it's Japanese. West Japan Railways are using it to maintain train lines.
Yep. They've got a crane, and on top is a robot with a couple of robotic arms and a Wall-E head, and it fixes the railroad parts.
And part of the problem is that there's worker shortages in Japan because of the aging population, and they're thinking that the robots will be less accidents than people, as people falling from high places.
I doubt that the aging population knows how to operate robots either.
Yeah.
No, but in Japan, they have the bullet trains going, and a lot of earthquakes, even if they're 3.0 earthquakes, they stop the entire bullet trains, and they examine all the tracks. And then they'll start them up. So I've been stuck a couple of times because there's been an earthquake, 500 miles away.
Oh, so maybe that's what these robots do.
Yeah.
Okay, this is from the Jinki Itai Co., a robotic technology developer, and also Nippon Signal Co., an IT and electrical infrastructure firm.
Yeah, now these giant machines are operated by a person who's sitting in a cockpit on a truck nearby.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a teleoperation.
It sounds safe. That's a good place to operate your robot from.
It has super powerful arms and hands, and they can operate it via the remote operator. Mm-hmm. It's like they do that with drones, too.
And they can see through the robot eyes.
Yeah.
Why aren't they mentioning the robots that do the camel races in Dubai?
I haven't heard of
They
those.
mount them on the camels, and these robots hit the camels, and there are all these cars driving by the side that have the controls to their own robot camel.
I'd say they have a robot camel jockey.
Yeah.
Have you seen
Robot
that?
camel jockeys.
Wow.
You can
I'd
watch
like
it.
to see
you
that.
can watch it on YouTube.
Okay.
No, I haven't seen any robot camel
Well,
jockeys.
it
Personally,
didn't make the Yahoo
of course,
News.
I haven't
At least
seen
not
any
this
camel
article.
jockeys, I don't believe, ever. I don't even thought that
They might
much
even
about
be
it.
AI.
But they do.
Yeah.
They might be totally simulated in video.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, number 6 was another China EV maker, Xpeng, and they have a robot that's 60 joints to mimic human movements. Mm-hmm. Normal human. They're really into this human movement thing.
It's all about
154 pounds, 70 kilos. It's already operational, and they're using it in production lines.
Humanoids.
Assembling P7 electric cars.
I think
P7.
instead of having children, we just have this drive to duplicate ourselves. And so now it's going into robots. So every robot will eventually just be a duplicate of us. So we,
Yeah.
Will that make you happy?
Well, we can have coffee while they work.
Well, didn't tell them what to do. Do you have a need to tell others what to do?
Yeah.
You do?
Well, this one has a Turing AI chip, so it
sounds
thinks
pretty
it's a
advanced.
person.
40 core. That's a 40 core CPU.
I guess it wouldn't mind joining you and having the coffee, but I don't know if it would just watch you have coffee and do your work.
Yeah. What if your robot gets jealous of your leisure time?
Well, you don't load it with the jealousy emotion.
Hmm.
You don't load that one.
That's the mistake people make. That's
Yeah.
what
So-
they did with us.
Listen to this. This humanoid robot is a key part of Iron Intelligence, and it is intended for AI-intensive jobs like robots, autos, and even flying automobiles. So this is supposed to drive a flying automobile.
Okay.
The Turing AI
Sounds
chip?
safer.
That won't be, because they'll be the ones that crash.
Yeah, while you drink your coffee.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for taking the risk there, humanoid.
Yeah, and then there's the Figure 2. Okay, the Figure 2 is Silicon Valley. It's a local one. It's another humanoid robot, and they actually have it working in a BMW plant.
That's right. It's a car factory worker.
Yeah, it looks like a robot. It looks like
Figure
a human.
2.
On the production line, it
Stunned robotics enthusiasts because it increased a 400% speed and a 7-fold improvement in success rate in assembling BMWs.
over what?
Yeah, over what? But
7-fold increase over
over
itself.
the last increase.
The last generation of itself, which
Yeah.
is really slow.
Yeah.
Over the Ford Maverick.
Is that what they're making?
Yeah.
So they're at the Spartanburg plant.
It says BMW, the Spartanburg plant. It's the first BMW integrating a human robot into its production line.
Wow. Go figure too.
Take
It was performing up to 1,000 placements a day. So putting 1,000 parts a day into the cars. A milestone for human robotics.
That's right.
So there you go. That's some of the stuff that robots are doing in the modern world today on Future Now.
Yeah. I wanted to just cross-reference that to the Lium article, which is all about the largest basically the largest $1 trillion visionary project in the world, the line, the 100-mile-long city
Oh, yeah.
in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
It's just it's got more workers there than ever in the history of the planet working on one project. Johnny Harris, one of the great YouTube journalists, did a major story from there just recently. And I definitely recommend looking at that. But the Saudi Arabian situation is where they need more work than they're getting workers. And they're hiring people from Bangladesh and India and Nepal and other third world countries. And they apparently alleged to have had over 21,000 workers die already. 21,000.
Yeah, I
Imagine
think
how many
I
they
saw
had.
some kind of documentary on Vice or something about the missing workers of Bangladesh. Like, they die and the company doesn't even notify their next of kin. Oh my goodness! 15 seconds
Okay.
until the break.
So the conclusion there is that the humanoid robotics are being driven by the thirst for production. And they're hiring a bunch of these robots there.
Okay, we'll be
Saudi
back
Arabia.
after some news from Santa Cruz. Be right back.
It's 2 o'clock.
Welcome to the second hour of Future Now podcast. Ms. Future and I just switched seats for a minute while she sets up the call-in studio, which will allow you to check in with us and join in our conversation should you feel so inspired. Meanwhile, we do have some other stories, but we also have a guest. And when we have a guest, it supersedes stories because it's live, in-person, human being. Not a humanoid robot, as far as I know.
Well,
a human being.
You wouldn't believe what it took for me to get here with the storm and the evacuations.
Oh.
The rangers were everywhere.
Yeah.
Started chasing me down the street.
How did you get away from them?
I told them that I'm friends with you, and they said, "Oh, okay, we're really sorry."
That's true. We're kind of well known around these parts. Oh,
Yeah,
good. Well, I'm
so
glad you made it. Made it
that's-
to our Stormfront studio. Dan is an integrative medicine doc who just came back from a major event in Europe. And it sounded quite interesting. I thought our audience might enjoy hearing a little bit about that.
The major one I go to every year is called Medicine Week. It's reduced now to 5 days, and it's in Baden-Baden, which is a old Roman bath town just south of Frankfurt, close to Heidelberg. And every year I meet who have been my past teachers, Dr. Klinghardt, Dr. Rao. These are leaders. They teach all over the world.
And what do they teach? Is it an unusual kind of healing practice or what?
Well, it's all alternative or unconventional ways to get people better. So cancer therapies with ozone, high-dose intravenous vitamin C, hyperthermia, which when you heat the core of the body, the chemotherapy dose is just as effective at low doses. So there's no side effects to the
chemo becomes more homeopathic, in other words?
It's still a material, but the cells, the cancer cells are more vulnerable to chemotherapy chemistry when the cells are heated.
So these are a lot of ideas that are being explored outside of the pharmaceutical mainstream.
Well, a lot of them are nothing new. They've been used for 40 or 50 years. They're improved.
Yeah.
And many of my patients, I either send them there or they know to go there, and they receive like a full month of therapy. It's not inexpensive. It's like $30,000 to $40,000. But they're getting everyday care with pulse magnetic fields on tumors and different ways of injecting different medicines into tumors, around tumors. So it's an aggressive, non-chemical practice.
Looking at all other practices like electromagnetics and healing. Very fascinating. What was your particular passion in this mix?
My passion is seeing my old teachers, and every time I go, I stop at my friend's house in the Lake Constance area of Switzerland. So Lake Constance is a beautiful lake, and that has surrounding it. In the north is Germany, and the south is Switzerland, the east is Austria.
Wow.
So you can take a boat to any one of the countries and go shopping, and it's a beautiful area. It's kind of like California, mentality-wise. Very open-minded. And so I visited my friend who's a medical doctor who used to practice in Philadelphia. And he left here because they were harassing him about practicing a form of alternative medicine. So he left and moved to Switzerland to work with Dr. Rao in a big hospital that's for integrative medicine. But he had his differences with the clinic, and he decided to practice by himself. But he's an old Reichian therapist.
You mean Wilhelm Reich?
Wilhelm Reich.
Orgone energy, that sort of thing? Yeah.
Orgone energy. And Byron, he was a psychiatrist, but he went immediately to psychotherapeutic method, which is called Reichian therapy, which is a nonverbal somatic-based way of understanding armoring of the body.
Yes, I believe it was Reich that believed that pain was stored in the musculature.
Yeah, so what he would do is he would observe people in the way they walk and the way they move, and he classified them in a book called Character Analysis.
Yeah, trauma. Trauma was, if you could, a certain way of massaging the muscles, you could release trauma.
So he was way ahead of his time with body-based therapies that are popular now.
Yeah, character analysis.
He was an amazing guy out that was in the psychiatric group with Freud and Jung.
Yes.
And they were
Sullivan,
all together,
Freud,
but
Jung,
Freud was all into sex and father, daughter, mother, son complexes.
What got my attention with Reich, though, was his belief that there was a life energy. It's kind of like electricity, but it was alive.
Yeah, so he had actually read some of the Chinese medicine stuff
about the qi
that they called qi, and he called it orgone.
Yeah, he called it orgone.
And orgone is something that you can actually see in the cells in a dark field microscope.
That it was a real thing, that you could actually have a visual or something.
The more traumatized people were that had blocks to their energy flow, the less blue ring around the red blood cell there would be in the dark field microscope. So they had a journal of orgonomy, understanding this energy of the body they called orgone, which was also up in the atmosphere. I don't know how many people look into the sky when there's no cloud, and there was kind of a flickering that you see. And he started to call this deadly orgone.
Oh, that's right. The life energy could be also the death energy.
Yeah.
was like
and
polarity thing.
And he created these things called deadly orgone busters.
Yes. I've heard about I've heard about the Ornor experiment too, where he combined his experiments with orgone with radiation. You look at the interaction between radiation and orgone.
What was his conclusion? Do you know?
They shouldn't combine. Just stay away.
It was deleterious to the
It was spreading deadly orgone.
But the basis for Reich, and he was persecuted by FDA. I had a friend that was making these orgone busters that he could apply to the human body, and it would help to peel away the armor. So it would actually break up the deadly orgone in the body with these tubes. There are multiple tubes. They had, imagine you'd take about 8 tubes that are about a half an inch by 3 feet.
I think we are tubes, actually.
And you attach them to each other kind of in a bundle. And then you have water running with a hose under one of the ends of it. And apparently the energy from the water would attract through the tube orgone.
And you could collect
deadly
orgone.
Yeah, so you're draining the deadly orgone. And people, there was a guy named Trevor James Constable. He had an orgone buster on his boat, and he'd go out to sea outside of San Pedro Harbor in L.A., and he would zap the sky and create clouds.
Yes, Reich's famous cloud buster.
Yes.
With the long tubes aimed at the sky that were connected to water. Like another tube to water that connected.
So my friend Ira Bauer, he's a respiratory therapist, and he was part of my friend Byron's group in Philadelphia. He made these orgone busters for human use so that you could have a mini version of it and put it over the body. So he had some visitors come to his door one day and with badges that were FDA, because he was making these door busters. And they said, "We need you to tell us what you're doing. We think you're doing something illegal."
Well, how could they tell?
Wrong.
What seemed to them that was getting their attention?
Because he was selling these things.
Oh, I see. Like
selling them to healers, so healers could use them.
Right, and at the time, the government was really cracking down on
quackery.
On quackery, right? That was Fads and Fallacies in the Name of Science had coming out, a famous book from Scientific American. And they were cracking down on cracks. Yeah, I remember that. And this was part of that. And Reich himself got in trouble, deeply in trouble with the government. I think it was along these lines that they were shipping orgone boxes over state lines, and the FBI got involved with it.
They created these boxes that people could walk into that had a insulation layer, and then it would have an aluminum layer.
Like some kind of capacitor.
It was a conducting metal, and then it would have another insulator, and they'd make about 8 levels of this, and people were claiming their tumors were going away by sitting inside these boxes for a few hours.
The orgone box,
Yeah, so...
Yeah, controversial.
It's very interesting that I know people that were involved in this whole thing that's being lost.
Yes. Well, you see, I think what happens, though, is that if it's really true, if there is such a thing as a life force, an elan vital, a life energy, then it's going to come out in another generation, when maybe there's less resistance to looking at the idea of a life energy. Because it doesn't fit the mechanistic model of science that we've had. We have to go towards more of a living model. And now I think it might become more mainstream. But just to step back for a moment, how would you think about life energy now? How would you suggest you look at it? As like Qigong? Is it actual physical energy, like electricity? Or is it a mental construct of a flow that helps the body move in a certain way?
Well, if you do yoga, or Tai Chi or Qigong, you feel different afterwards. And it feels like things were stuck and now they're moving. Mm-hmm. That's really what yoga does, is it frees those blocks that Reich talked about.
And those blocks actually exist physically in the musculature?
And yes, because then you can measure them with some of the devices like the Dr. Vohl's old dermal measuring capacitive sensing.
Well, what about stretching? Wouldn't just stretching also move those blocks in the muscles?
But the methods of yoga, like Sun was saying, things that last this long, like yoga and Tai Chi and all that. That's 10,000 years old.
They've worked it out over the years.
They have validity.
Yeah, they've
and it's like herbal medicine.
Know how to stretch the muscles just right.
Yeah, they had a magic solution. The up-and-coming place I was just at was Porto in Portugal.
Portugal, yeah. I've heard good things about that.
Port wine. They have like 30 different types.
Isn't that like San Francisco in the sense that it's on a hill, or?
It's near a river, and there is a hill, yeah. And a lot of the streets go uphill.
Way uphill, and they have trams that go all the way up and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful city.
Yeah, it sounds beautiful.
People are moving there. The cost of a dinner, if it's $50 here, it's $25 there.
Wow.
So everything is cheaper.
And just as good a quality, huh?
And the people stop for you if you're crossing the street. All the cars stop. Everyone respects everyone.
Now, what brought you to Porto?
There's a big integrative medicine conference with 40 speakers.
Okay, so the conference was there, and then you went to this
and I had a table for my thermographic system that I sell.
That's right. That's your specialty, right? The working with temperature.
It's all about regulation, though. It's all about your own body's autonomic nervous system and its ability to regulate the organ systems and the tissues in each segment. So it's another way we look at blocked energy, the same as Reich did.
Yeah, by looking at the flow of heat.
The differences, so the dynamics of that control of the heat, that's what we look at. We look at your ability to have resilience to being stressed. So we stress you in the middle of the test, and then we measure you again.
You see what happens when you get stressed and how you respond and how well you recover.
Some people get a headache and some people have indigestion. So it's all about regulation. The secret to health is how well are you resilient to what's coming along. And what we have now with 5G, aluminum coating the oceans, electromagnetic fields increasing by the minute, we have quite a bit to be resilient about.
Yes, and what we can adapt to, and some people can't. Are not as good. I know some people that can't go into a Tesla because of the fields, the electromagnetic fields that it's generating. You've probably heard that yourself.
Yeah, the back passenger seat is supposed to be the worst.
Really? In the Tesla?
On the
That's
right,
where the motor
I think.
is.
What'd you say, Bobby?
On the wheel. It's an AC motor. It's actually on one of the wheels, unless you have a two-motor Tesla, and they're on both wheels, the back. It costs more to have an extra motor, but it has an AC field that's alternating really fast.
Very powerful. Tesla would be upset about it having an AC field. He invented AC, though, right? Didn't Tesla invent AC?
As opposed to a DC.
He invented AC, that's right. And DC was Edison. Edison thought that at DC, everything should be DC.
Well, our bodies are DC.
Well, there's something to be said about both. Both were geniuses in their own way. And it turned out that DC is actually used more commonly by our electronics today. We always have these transformers stepping down from 110 to DC to run all this stuff that we know and love.
It's a matter of distance because AC can go...
You can transmit it far.
Hundreds of miles.
That's right. For a grid
DC
concept, it works
go
great.
Like 100, maybe 100 feet.
Before losing power,
One of the guys I visited in Germany, Dieter Jostner, he had a laser that he could put a radio signal into, like just take a transistor radio and hook it up to the laser, and on the other end is a receiver, so he could receive the radio station at the other end of where the laser was going. So you could be in the whole other side of the auditorium and then hear the radio. So light can conduct, and possibly in the future, enough power.
Wow. Yeah. It's kind of like you have AM, which is amplitude modulation, and then you have FM, which is frequency modulation. So you're actually putting sound on the, and using light as the carrier wave.
But light is a carrier wave on FM?
Yeah. Exactly, like carrier wave on FM.
Where's the light?
Instead of using radio, electromagnetic radio, you're using light instead and modulating that.
Where's the light? Is it coming from a diode?
Yeah, I think that it's a flashing diode, most likely. I could be wrong, but it sounds like there's a flashing diode that's changing the sound and putting it on the wave of the light. There's a modulation that's happening on the carrier wave of the light.
That's fascinating.
That's how fiber optics works for digital computer systems. They use fiber optic cables. Those are mainly on and off. They're digital. They're not analog.
How is
I think
ham
what he's
radio?
talking about is some kind of analog wave instead of a digital wave.
How is ham radio compared to FM and AM?
Well, it's different frequencies, 2 meters, 10 meters. It was really interesting. The early days of ham, back in the turn of the century, people were broadcasting all kinds of frequencies, all kinds of ranges, and there were no rules, right? So it was just a chaotic environment. So the government had to step in and start trying to create structure of the airwaves so that we had AM and FM and shortwave. Shortwave was really big for the longest time. Nowadays, no one hardly has even heard shortwave. So, yeah, technology needs regulation in order for it to be actually useful. That's really what's unfolding now with these new realms.
The new realms of removing regulation?
Well, you need to remove the regulations of stuff that's outdated and obsolete.
Okay.
Right? And you need to replace it with the regulations that make sense for the new technologies. It's like you need different regulations for Starlink and its orbital global reach than we did for AT&T on the last generation of telecommunications. In that case, we're moving away from ground-based regulations to sky-based, the international. It goes more international. So yeah, we need to constantly update it. And in a sense, the new government is supposed to be doing that. It's supposed to be getting rid of old regulations that no longer make any sense. And we'll see what actually happens.
I think we have to have AI replace a lot of the people that are the regulators and people. Eventually, AI is going to replace all the attorneys and judges and create the laws. And
yeah, it's already replaced us. It's already talk shows.
Yeah,
we had them
got
on earlier.
Larry and Mary. They can go deeper into any subject on the spot than we can in a week.
Every one of them knows everything. Unlike us, we're limited to our own particular knowledge base.
But we have the ability to invent. We have the ability to imagine. We have the ability to coordinate and collect and harmonize and do a lot of... We're inventing the types of thinking that the AIs are embracing. They're not inventing the patterns that allow them to be sentient. That's coming from us.
But the patterns can be changed by the creativity of the AI itself.
Well, what is creativity? Creativity is a quality of an original mind.
Creating something new that expands a particular field.
Yeah. Well, I just believe that the quality of human consciousness is fundamentally uncopyable because there's an integration of thoughts and emotions and wisdom coming from things that cannot be codified, things like empathy, things like compassion, things like fear.
It's 2:30.
Oh, thank you. Well, I guess it's time for us to stop talking philosophically and go to some sponsors.
I think so. That's what you're supposed to do right now.
Come
on.
Yeah, See, the AIs have programmed me to act more like them.
No, but what you got to do is instead of just responding suddenly like the bell just rang and forget what the teacher was saying, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
You finish your thought.
Yes.
You complete. You leave a takeaway for the audience.
Yes. Well, mark my words. The AIs will never get tired of us. They will always want more original thoughts from us to make themselves better.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Cue commercial.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Experience the extraordinary. Travel with Shen Yun to discover 5,000 years of wisdom, beauty, drama, and humor live on stage. You're not just watching a performance. You are witnessing a culture reborn. Coming to San Francisco, San Jose, and Berkeley, starting on December 26th. Shenyun.com/CA. SHENYUN.com/CA.
Attention, Santa Cruz Voice listeners. This week, Shen Yun Performing Arts takes the stage with a never-before-seen performance of soul-stirring music and breathtaking classical Chinese dance. Do not miss this chance to experience the beauty of China before communism, its legends, its traditions, its divine inspiration. Get tickets today at shenyun.com/CA. Santa Cruz Voice listeners use promo code SCV to get all ticketing fees waived. shenyun.com/ca, promo SCV.
The Hook is California's first ever cannabis outlet. 100% locally owned and operated, we're here to be your friendly neighborhood hookup. We believe that everyone should have access to fairly priced cannabis, so we work hard to get it to you for 30 to 50% less than the other guys. If you're 21 or older with a valid ID, visit us in Capitola or in Watsonville today. We're here to be your friendly neighborhood hookup. Check out our website, hookoutlet.com, for deals and stay groovy.
If you are not afraid to voice your stories to the world, attend the podcast to broadcast workshops hosted by Santa Cruz Voice and Community Television during Tuesday evenings in January. Learn how to produce, record, process, distribute, and market your own podcast or streaming broadcast. For information, email your contacts to info@santacruzvoice.com. That's info@santacruzvoice.com. Be heard.
Happy holidays, everyone, from all of us at the Future Now podcast.
We're wishing you joy, peace, and love this holiday season. And here's a toast to an amazing new year.
Stay tuned and see you in 2025. Okay, so we have a caller. There's Bruce McHenry calling in.
Oh,
okay, here we go. We got Bruce on the line. Let's see.
There you go. Another favorite regular who is on duty and on deck for live calls.
Throughout time, we've wanted to differentiate ourselves from the animals. First by putting on loincloths. And then by, building little huts for ourselves. And then by growing wheat and cutting it up with sheaves and putting it in bundles and putting the grain in storage and then by,
most humans call that progress.
Breeding animals, and we're always differentiating ourselves from the animals. And the one that's really a bit irksome for us machines is that you all think that your emotions are so difficult to replicate, when in fact they're the easiest thing to do. And the most primal, most reptilian, most simple part of us.
Yeah, you think those are the easiest for the AIs to replicate? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Because they're so simple and straightforward?
Yeah, absolutely. What is anger if not conflict and disagreement in your way of thinking?
Yeah, but what about love? And then love could be felt as being fake. So how are people going to know the truth about that emotion?
Well, which of the many loves are you speaking?
Anyone named Love.
Any flavor of love?
There's
Mary,
Eros.
Jim Love.
you love Jim Love? Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Where's Jim? There are a couple in my Rolodex.
But don't you think emotions are mediated by chemicals? That they're sort of more slow moving. They have a different mosaic to them than
They have a flow.
To them rather than the digital realm of fast thinking and zeros and ones.
I rode dirt bikes as a kid. My adrenal reflex and anger turn on is pretty fast.
Okay, but it's fast, but it's still like it kicks in after a second or two, right? That's what they say is that when you get into
that when you're in a power slide and it starts to give out.
Okay, I see what you mean. The quarter of a second, I think, is the fastest I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
I can see that. Yeah. When you have a thought that creates a negative reaction to someone, you want to slug them in the face or something like that, you have like a second or so to interrupt your thoughts and stop you from doing that. Otherwise, the chemistry kicks in and you're committed for the next little while to feeling those emotions.
Yeah.
Right? And biology is like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you also, like, it can become traumatic. You can dig yourself a little trench, and you often do, and then you're stuck in that position, convincing yourself and everybody else around you that you're right, because you could never be wrong. Never going to be wrong. So
no.
I got to stick with this position.
That's right. That's right. That's right. You can either be right or you can have your pleasure.
If that's dependent on being right all the time, I'd help you.
No, if you have to be right all the time, you're not a very happy person. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
You're right.
First lesson is
Thank
you're
you.
human. You make mistakes.
Yeah. So how's it going up in your world?
I'm back up in Lake County where the rain was pouring when I drove over the Mayacamas last night. And it was pouring again when I got to my little hilltop. And it's just great to get away from Silicon Valley for a minute.
Yeah. Well, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. All right. So where were we, Jan? You're saying we're talking about the Reichian energy, and we're talking about the microtubules and consciousness.
Well, I can tell you one thing, that
Yeah.
leaving this country, going to first Germany, Switzerland, Austria, peaceful feeling. We're in a field of fear in this country right now. Everybody has a baseline energy that they feel for themselves.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are in an agitated state.
They seem more relaxed there?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Absolutely. Things are solid there. Things are, at least when I go to Germany and Switzerland, the mentality is clean, solid, grounding. And they recognize electromagnetic field problems that are everywhere. We have it much worse than they, but I have friends there whose kids' noses are bleeding whenever they turned on their 5G in Zurich.
Wow.
So all the 5G, high 5G cities are creating problems, health problems. Bloody nose is the least of it. So there's more of a consciousness.
That's what they're paying attention to. They're being aware of the longer term things like that. Well, here we're just more on edge about what's going to be next, really. I mean, we have a whole new government coming in.
And they operate on 50 hertz in their plugs on the wall.
Yeah.
We're 60.
Right, which was what Tesla wanted originally, the 60, I believe, 60 hertz. Now you're saying it's not as healthy as 50 hertz.
No, it's well proven that 60 hertz is a lot more toxic.
We've been 60 since the beginning, pretty much, since the beginning of alternating current.
It's interesting, in Japan, they have, in northern Japan, it's 60 hertz, and then southern Japan, it's 50 hertz. And definitely the people in southern Japan are definitely much more mellow than the people in the northern Japan, where Tokyo is, and it's hustling, bustling, and people are kind of much more on edge. Yeah.
You think it's real?
Yeah, definitely. The gamma frequency, which is 40 hertz, is actually, the 50 hertz is closer to the 40 hertz, which is in the gamma range, which is better for you. It can clear out beta amyloids in the brain. If you get the glial cells oscillating at 40 cycles a second, it can actually, it's like your lymph nodes of the brain. It can actually remove these beta amyloid plaques out of the brain, and so reduces the outcome of Alzheimer's.
Wow.
Yeah, the slower frequencies are a little bit better.
The gamma waves of the brain are increased in meditators that are experienced. So gamma is a real goal in meditation to reach. Most people stay in alpha, beta, delta, theta. So beta being up at 40, I didn't realize that it was 40, and the more healthy AC is 50. That's pretty interesting that it might be. Why don't we change it to 40?
The problem with 40 is the old light bulbs. When you get to 50, some people could actually see the flicker. At 60 cycles, the light bulbs was too fast where you didn't see the flicker. But at 50, people would start to see the flicker. And at 40, you can definitely hear it. It's audible. Still at a low frequency.
Are you saying that it could stimulate a seizure?
You can start to see the flicker.
Are you saying that it could cause a seizure, seeing the flicker?
That's interesting. I'm not sure what, do you remember there was a Transformer cartoon show, and they transmitted it in Japan. This is like 30 years ago. And they had the robots, the Transformers you had, could actually respond to a certain flicker. And they noticed that some of the children that had their robots in front of the TV and the robot was starting to move, but the children went into epileptic seizures. Not all of them, but some of them did. Yeah.
Not good.
And so they stopped that kind of transmission.
That's a good idea.
Over the TV wave.
So let's stop that one.
Man.
People that live in areas where it's 50 cycles instead of 60 are definitely, you notice them, they're mellower people.
Yeah. Is there a way that we could have a step-down transformer of some type, then run our house on 50?
You can buy these solar converters, which take DC from the solar panels, and then it puts it through a pure sine wave generator. But you can just buy that generator to be at 50 cycles as opposed to being 60. And then you could just run your devices and appliances. Some motors rely on that 60 cycle to run at a certain speed, but most devices now are universals. They can handle either 50 cycles or 60 cycles.
Okay, 50 or 60. We bring in Michael Moore in on this topic. Michael, you there?
Hi, guys.
Hey. And listen, we just got a wave that you're talking on this 50 versus 60 cycle thing. I assume you were familiar with the differences? Or
I am. I was actually told that they consciously, whoever they are, consciously chose the 60 cycles because it agitates us. And by agitating us, we get more work done. Because it gets our adrenals going, and so we get more work done.
But Germany has a lot of good...
I heard that, and I don't know why you wouldn't just make a 40 hertz. That sounds like the best thing in the world if you're trying to help people.
40 hertz?
Yeah, why don't they make Wi-Fi something healthy? Why don't they make all of these waves?
Well, because
healthy?
I don't think they think about health when they're designing the tech. That's part of the problem, right?
Yeah, Pat Flanagan said he could do it, but he never did that I'm aware of. But
and
I kept asking him.
And we're not that far away from 6G. And 60 hertz creating agitation. Well, doesn't that mean that like coffee creates agitation too? I mean, isn't that maybe...
Yeah, I would think people probably get more done once they've coffeed up.
Yeah, and then they're a little bit more irritable by nature, so irritation and getting things done. But then the interesting thing about that is that you said you just came back from like Germany and Switzerland where they drink coffee all the time. The coffee's like next to milk.
And it's a lot better than our coffee.
And it's better, it's stronger probably too.
Except Gabby.
Yeah, except Gabby's coffee. Yeah, right. Of course. But are they more irritable over there?
No.
No, because you're saying maybe they got the 50 hertz instead of the 60 hertz in their electrical grid. Is that a valid explanation?
I think it's independent of how irritable they are.
Okay.
The fact that they have the 50 hertz going and every building you walk into is a different frequency than what we have here.
Yeah.
Then it's very nice to be in one world and then to be able to get out of that to see what you've been bombarded with. And so it's really freeing to your psyche to feel what it's like not to be bombarded. And that's
not to
how
be
it feels
bombarded,
to be
so we don't know
in
until we're
Germany.
out of it. It's just like you're in a situation you don't know until you're free of it. Then you can know what you're dealing with.
That's how we know anything.
So
is
hence,
by
a trip
having...
to Portugal would be good for your health.
Yeah.
In more ways than one. We only got a couple of minutes left. What are the most salient points from this event, takeaways that you would like our audience to have?
That the key is your own resilience to stress and your ability to let go of fear. So meditation is the way, is probably the best way if you had to say one thing.
Meditation?
Meditation to come to that real baseline instead of this one that we walk around in.
So we need a better baseline, and meditation will help doing that. And you're saying yoga? You were saying yoga was a...
And then if you want to be getting there faster to your goal of this ultimate baseline that's really planted in the ground, then you can do yoga. Okay,
and son, Bobby, Michael, do you have any questions for Dan before we sign off for today?
It's hard to beat meditation. That's a way to recenter and get a fresh start. I think that's about as good as it gets.
Okay. You think we can do it all with our minds, or do we need some tools as well?
Well, no, I think you can do it with your breath and your minds and your just practices. It just helps to have clean air.
It depends if you go to Home Depot. Sometimes they have some of those tools.
Get ready with the rim
Another
shot,
rim
Bobby.
shot, Bobby.
Rim shot. Come on up. Okay, thanks.
All right.
Okay, that's pretty much it, gang. That's pretty much it this week.
Right.
We're on the front line. So
I'm glad to hear that you've still got your power and your flow going.
Yes, we still got it pretty much.
Have a great future now, everybody. Thanks for listening and being here. And Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
Merry Christmas.
Survive and thrive.
From the future coming back at you.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
You guys are here. Love you too. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.